Hey, welcome to my tutorial on centering. I have a 1 pound piece of clay here, and if you're new to ceramics, I would suggest starting with about ½ pound, ¾ pound, or a pound. Too much can take longer to get control of, but yeah, just be kind with yourself as you start this process. Centering is the hardest step to get through in order to get to the next hardest step, which is opening and pulling a wall. But today's video is solely based on centering. So we're gonna do a few different steps. So we're gonna get the clay stuck to the bat. We are going to compress the clay in, which cones the clay up. And then we're going to compress the clay down, which is called coning down. And those two motions are the two motions that you're going to repeat until your clay is centered. And I'll give you a little tip. If you're wondering, well, how will I know when the clay is centered? This might sound a little woo-woo-y, but you'll know it because you'll feel it. If you have to ask, is this clay centered? The answer is probably no. So just keep that in mind and don't give up. If a piece of clay is taking you a super long time to center, maybe cut it off and start with a fresh piece. The kind of clay you're using really does make a difference. If it's really stiff and hard clay, I find that I don't enjoy centering clay like that. It's just way too much of an effort for me. So if your clay is stiff, maybe soften it up a little bit, or get a new bag of clay and work with the softer clay. But be kind to yourself. Remember, this is a huge learning process. It's a big learning curve. And once you get started, you very well may be addicted. And you might just keep coming back, even though it is one of the most challenging things to work through. So here we go. Let's center this clay. Okay, I'm going to get my clay to stick down into the center of the bat as close to the center as possible. I'm not going to muscle this down. I'm just gonna kind of get my aim and then slap it down onto the bat. Sorry for the noisy wheel. First thing you're gonna wanna do is make sure your hands are nice and wet and that the clay is wet as well. Water is your friend when you're beginning to throw. The clay right now, as you can see, is very wobbly. It's going all around. So I want to try to get this clay into a containable shape. I'm gonna start with my left hand on the outside of the clay, and I'm going to take my I am right-handed, so if you're left-handed, flip this around. I'm gonna take my right fingers, I'm gonna pull this clay into my left hand. I'm bracing my elbows. I throw standing up, so I'm bracing my elbows on my hips. If you throw sitting down, you can brace your elbows on your thighs. And you want your wheel speed not too slow, but not out of control. So I like it a little faster. I speed my wheel up. My left hand is going to hold firm. My elbow is in my hip. My hand is steady, and I'm gonna pull my right hand in. And what that does is that brings the clay up. So it just rose up a little bit. I don't need to go very tall. But now I'm going to cone down. So my left hand on the outside of the clay again. I love to hook my thumb and my pinky together. It just helps my hands talk to one another. So I'm gonna hook those two together, and then using this part of my right hand, I'm going to push down that cone of clay. My left hand is in contact with the bat, and it's steady, and my right hand pushes down. And I'll do that a few more times. I want you to notice that my right hand pushes at an angle, and then as I get closer to the bottom, it flattens out. So I've got my really nice tuna can shape here, and I'm going to put my left hand on the outside, and I'm going to pull those right hand fingers in, and it cones my clay up a little bit. I don't need to go very tall. Hook my thumb and my pinky, press at an angle into that top, and then flatten it out. I'll do that one more time for you. Okay, I'm going to squeeze in with my right fingers, hook my thumb and my pinky finger. I'm pushing at an angle. You can see how the clay is kind of bending away from me. And then as I get closer to the bottom, flatten my hand out. Once you have gotten pretty close to center, what you can do is just give your clay a little gentle hug. If it's not quite centered, if it's wobbling a little bit, I take my hands and I go on both sides of the clay, kind of at like 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock, and my thumb goes over top and just keeps that top from rising. And I just give the clay a little hug, and it takes the last of the wobble out. This is a nicely centered piece of clay. There. I hope that was helpful. Just remember that you are working to get your clay particles to spin all in the same direction. We are compressing the clay. My left hand sits on the outside, my right hand comes in, and I pull. I am pushing together a little bit, but really it's a lot of my right hand doing the work, pulling that clay into the center. I'm not allowing my left hand to move very much. It's very stable. The clay is not pushing it around. And then when I cone down, I link these two, my right pinky and my left thumb, because it allows me to use this right hand, this portion of my right hand, as a bit of a fulcrum. And I can push in and then down, and my left hand and I are still, my left hand and my right hand are still talking to one another. I really feel best when I am one solid unit. My elbows are in my hips, my right and left hands are touching, and they can talk to one another as I work through the centering and even the opening process. So I hope this was helpful. Stay tuned for a little opening tutorial. Thanks. Have fun and enjoy.